Happy Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Morning Jox. I'm Conrad Van Order alongside Damian Mitchell, and we'll be with you until 7 o'clock as we are each and every morning. And, of course, we appreciate you making us a part of your morning each and every day right here on Jox. And it is Thursday, so, worth getting excited about, right? Because Friday's right around the corner. We're almost to another weekend. Well, maybe some of you not excited for another weekend because you don't want to know what's coming on Saturday. But this is another big weekend in the world of football, of course, as the NFL season officially kicks off tonight, as your defending champion Philadelphia Eagles will host the Dallas Cowboys in a divisional matchup there to kick things off at 7:20 tonight. That's going to be on NBC. You'll also be able to stream it on Peacock if you use that streaming service. So very exciting times tonight as Jalen Hurts and company try to go out there and defend their Super Bowl championship from last year. Pretty cool if you saw Nick Sirianni and him saying, yeah, they're doing a banner tonight. Okay, well, yeah, we're not going to be out there. We're going to be focused on the game. So the Eagles not even going to be out there to celebrate, according to their head coach, not even going to be out there to celebrate the unveiling of their new Super Bowl championship banner. They're focused on this season, and what's in the past is in the past, and we've heard that before.
That sounds like some Jalen Hurts influence. Like, I feel like he stopped celebrating the day after the Super Bowl because he's locked in on 2025.
Can he coach Alabama?
Maybe. I think it's hard to be two places at one time, but I think when his career is over, he probably could do it.
Maybe a consulting gig in the offseason, something like that.
Absolutely.
But that'll be exciting tonight. Of course, if you're a fantasy football fan, don't forget to set your lineup. I know a lot of people have been very, very excited for this moment. I did my draft with my friends in our league 2 days ago because we always like to wait until the last second because you never know when somebody's going to get hurt because that's just the way that things go, unfortunately, and we've gotten burned in the past. And if you played fantasy football, I'm sure you have as well. So I know a lot of people excited for that to get underway as well. So NFL season kicks off later tonight. Me and Damian later in the show will give you some of our Super Bowl picks. Who do we think will end up in the big game at the end of the season? We'll give those to you later on in the show. And, of course, you're free to text those in as well, 205-834-9450 if you want to get on the courtesy GMC text line. And don't forget, tomorrow night, you're also going to have, I know a lot of people going to be watching high school football, but you are, if you're at home or out to dinner, something like that, you're going to have NFL action tomorrow night as well, as the Chiefs will take on the Chargers in Brazil. So that's why that game's on Friday. So that's going to be tomorrow night as well. So a couple of NFL games to look forward to here as we get ready for week 2 of the college football season. So how about week 2? Let's try to turn the page a little bit today. We'll tell you a little bit about what you need to know about both Alabama and Auburn's opponents for the upcoming weekend. You've got Alabama playing University of Louisiana Monroe. You've got Auburn taking on Ball State. What are some players you may need to know? How did they fare in week 1? Because I don't think many of us were probably tuned into those games in week 1. Maybe you were. But we'll try to shed a little bit of light on that for you coming up here today on the program. But unfortunately, we do have to start with some big injury news with one of the teams in the state here. So when it rains, it pours for the Alabama Crimson Tide, it would appear, because you had Hey Coach last night, so the weekly show, obviously, that Kalen DeBoer does there alongside Chris Stewart. And he announces that yesterday at practice, apparently, defensive lineman Jeremiah Beeman suffered a lower body injury. I believe it's a knee injury. I'm not exactly sure what the specifics of it are, but the belief is that he is now going to be out for the entire season. Now, some of you may still go, oh, Jeremiah Beeman, that name sounds familiar. Well, a week ago, we were on the show telling you, hey, this is somebody you need to know because with Tim Keenan being out and having the tightrope surgery, Jeremiah Beeman was going to start in place of Tim Keenan, which he did. Now, I know some of you out there would say, well, good, anybody that was on the field on Saturday, maybe we need some new faces in there. But the reality of it is you're now down 2 nose tackles 1 game into the season. So Tim Keenan is expected to come back in the next few weeks, maybe by the Georgia game. But Jeremiah Beeman, now he's expected to miss the season, a young guy that had a lot of potential. And so now you're going to have some more young guys that step up. And it looks like that's going to come in the form of true freshman London Simmons, as well as redshirt freshman Isaiah Fega. And those are going to be the two guys that you should expect to see a lot rotating in there up front on the defensive line. But yeah, certainly not what you want to do if you're Alabama. You're already very thin at that position, obviously. And now you're down two guys. Certainly Tim Keenan and one of your leaders and a starter and somebody that was expected to be one of the better defenders in the SEC, but now Jeremiah Beeman as well. So Alabama is starting to get thin on the offense or defensive line, and there's a long season ahead. So we will see how that happens and if any of these young guys can develop for the Crimson Tide. So that was the big injury news yesterday for Alabama. You did have a little bit of good injury news as well, going back to Saturday and some of the guys that had gotten banged up there. So Kalen DeBoer said last night that Jaden Roberts is going to return this weekend. So he'd been battling through concussion stuff. Probably could have gone last weekend against Florida State, but he'll definitely be a go this week. So that helps just add some more depth there to the offensive line for Alabama. Ryan Williams dealing with the concussion. He's still day-to-day, but said he's progressing well. Still out there in practice and stuff. Just not, obviously a full go or anything like that, but seems to be making good progress there. So we'll see what happens with his status for Saturday. You have Isaiah Horton. If you saw, he got banged up on Saturday during the game. He was on the bike pretty early, but looks like he's trending in the right direction. Maybe not 100% on Saturday, but should be pretty close to it based on what Kalen DeBoer was saying yesterday to the media. You also have Jamarian Latham, another defender. He's going to be questionable for Saturday, but his recovery apparently is going ahead of schedule. He had a lower body injury as well in the game against Florida State. And a little bit of a surprise, not that, again, you certainly want to be as close to healthy as you can, and you're not going to say no to this guy coming back. But I do wonder if maybe, do you want to risk rushing somebody back for them to have a more serious injury and then miss more time? And that, of course, I'm talking about is Jam Miller, who Kalen DeBoer said yesterday could potentially come back for the Wisconsin game next week. So that would be a pretty quick turnaround with the collarbone injury that he suffered. But if he's 100%, absolutely. I just, again, do you roll the dice on that if maybe he could use an extra week just to make sure? And don't forget, if he doesn't play the Wisconsin game, not only is that an extra week, you then get the bye week before Georgia, right? So it's almost like 2 extra weeks of rest there. So we'll see what ultimately happens. But that's kind of the latest injury news for Alabama. So a couple of positive updates, but unfortunately, if you're just now joining us, Jeremiah Beeman, defensive lineman, is going to be out for, it looks like, the rest of the season after getting hurt yesterday with what appears to be a knee injury for the Alabama Crimson Tide. So we got to hear a lot from Kalen DeBoer yesterday because you had not only Hey Coach that we were just talking about, but you also had the SEC Coaches teleconference. It was very interesting because there was an article that came out yesterday on 3 by Chris Lowe, and part of the article was essentially a booster that was, speaking to Chris Lowe for this article, and they didn't want to be named, but making it very clear that this, losing to Florida State and kind of what's happened through the first 14 games of the Kalen DeBoer tenure, that wasn't going to be acceptable. And then, you turn around, that article comes out yesterday morning. Then you have on the SEC Coaches teleconference, somebody straight up asking Kalen DeBoer, so what's your response to the boosters? And it's like, yeah, we know this isn't good enough. It's like, okay. So that's where we are right now, right? You've got a random or, anonymous boosters, that are going and doing these interviews talking about Kalen DeBoer, and then Kalen DeBoer is now being asked about it in the SEC Coaches teleconference, which is a little different than normal media availability. It's typically, hey, these are the guys that are banged up. We're really excited to get on the field on Saturday. Boom, this is what we think of the opponent. We'll see you on the field. So definitely interesting, but it's not a normal week for Alabama football, to be fair. But how about a couple of other comments? I thought these were worth sharing. These are comments that Kalen DeBoer shared on the Hey Coach show last night. I just wanted to throw them out there, and if you want to react, you're free to react, and we can get some of Damien's thoughts on this as well. But so these are 3 quotes from last night on Hey Coach. The first one, talking about, again, just another comment about the aftermath of the loss to Florida State. This is from head coach Kalen DeBoer. Quote, "We're all pissed off about what happened on Saturday. We are. I mean, just flat out, that's what it is right now. Second quote. We got punched in the mouth a little bit, a lot of bit, and we've got to respond. And that's what the guys are doing, and I'm excited to see these guys get out on the football field. And then finally, he added, quote, we want passionate people around the program. We want that. I promise you we want that. For us, we've just got to hone in on what we can control, and we can control what we do, the mindset, the attitude, and the effort that we bring. So I don't know if that's going to, turn anybody's week around that was disappointed in the Crimson Tide, but that's the latest from the head coach of Alabama on how it's being addressed, what the response has been, and again, guess what the vibe is.
And again, all this stuff gets put to rest if they perform well on Saturday. And granted, you can say it's the opponent, but if they go out there and dominate and they show the effort and they show that they're pissed off from last week, okay, then all is right in the world. Or maybe not all is right in the world, but at least we know we're not going backwards. Like, the one thing I think that would really set Alabama fans off is if you go out and it's a sloppy 35-0 win. If you go out there and just dominate, assert your effort, assert your dominance, I think a lot of the stress will kind of take a little bit of a dip. And then if you double that up with Wisconsin the next week, you feel a little bit better going into Georgia. At least that's how I look at it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that. And also, if you're Kalen DeBoer, you're kind of stuck in no man's land. Like, what can you say as the head coach of? I mean, yeah, we played terrible. We're pissed off. Like, what else do you want me to say? Because we are. And if they're answering it day by day and truly flushing out what happened Saturday, the only thing that we can kind of accept is that they go out and absolutely obliterate Louisiana Monroe. Like, that's kind of the only option that you have.
Yeah, and let me say this. I think on Saturday, right, what people want to see more than anything is the effort. Because I don't think anything you see on the field in terms of, if Ty Simpson goes out there and throws for 350 and 4 touchdowns, I mean, you'll feel good about it, but you're also going to go, okay, well, let's see that against SEC level play. And I think, that's part of the issue with the way that they lost to Florida State is I don't know how much confidence you can get back from the fan base in the next 2 weeks. Now, Wisconsin certainly more so, right? If you go out, you remember when was it? I guess 2014, right? When Ohio State was on the outside looking into the playoff. They go to the Big Ten championship and they beat Wisconsin, 59-0. And at that point, everyone went, okay, maybe they should be in the playoff. That was pretty dominant. Now, if you do that next weekend, I think that starts to turn some heads, right? Of, okay, this is just utter domination of a Power 4 opponent. But I don't know how much of that you can get this weekend. But the effort part, I think that'll be the takeaway that'll have people saying, okay, we're at least headed in the right direction, or I'm more confident that we're headed in the right direction. But, yeah, I mean, even if you win 70-0, you'll feel better about it, right? I think obviously the worst thing that could happen is you could lose. But besides that, you win 42-24, right? Something like that where it's, okay, we were able to put some points up, but, man, this defense, still can't stop the run, or the linebackers still look like they're out of position on every snap, or, guys are still loafing in the secondary.
Essentially, don't make it look like USF of last year.
Yeah. There you go. That's a good
okay,
way.
Yeah, you're better than them, but you're also not asserting your dominance. Don't make it a game in the third and fourth quarter. I think it's kind of Alabama's in this position of they have to remove all doubt quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Not one of those slow, like, okay, yeah, you may look at the scoreboard, it may say 42-0, but it's also like, okay, yeah, maybe they only scored, 14 in the first half, and then it kind of, started to snowball after that. But I think the quicker you can remove all doubt, it doesn't necessarily put you back in the, okay, yeah, all is right in the world, but it gives you a little bit more of, okay, it's not as bad as game one. Like, and
Yes.
Again, coaches will tell you the biggest jump that you see in a team is from week 1 to week 2. Now you got to do it. That's where that's all it comes down to. You just have to do it, because now I will say, and I understand a little bit of the griping from a lot of Alabama fans. It's this iteration of Alabama does a lot more talking than showing. And I think that's where the frustration is all offseason it felt like, okay, like when you have players saying like the disrespect will be addressed. Well, it wasn't addressed. So it's okay, when do we get that talk to match up with the play?
No, I think that's a perfect way to put it. And you even I think maybe kind of alluded to this a little bit, but fanboy he texted in on the courtesy GMC text line. Had you switched the two games this week and last week, are we talking different, right? Like if you start off with ULM and you can kind of get, okay, we're gonna have some bumps in the road, but maybe you can overcome those obstacles a little better, and then go into Florida State a little more confident. I mean, maybe the outcome would be different, but unfortunately, that's not the world that we live in. And Alabama started with Florida State, and they looked bad. So it's an interesting hypothetical, but unfortunately, uh, in reality, it is what it is. So that's the latest. Some injury news there for the Alabama Crimson Tide as they get ready to try to bounce back from the Florida State loss this Saturday against Louisiana Monroe. But you also have the Auburn Tigers taking on Ball State there in Jordan Hare. So, what are some new enhancements to the stadium if you're going down there this weekend? What can you look forward to? Some new shiny bells and whistles in Jordan Hare Stadium for the 2025 football season. We'll tell you what they are and what you can expect down on the plains next on Jox. Well, welcome back into Morning Jocks. Connor and Damien here with you until 7 o'clock. When we'll hand you off to McElroy and Kubelik in the morning. Giving you a couple updates on what's going on with the Crimson Tide as some more bad injury news for Alabama yesterday. Jeremiah Beeman, the replacement for Tim Keenan, he has now suffered an injury and is expected to miss the entire season. So Alabama down two guys on their defensive line early on in the season. So we'll see how they deal with that as they open up their first home game against ULM on Saturday. And Auburn will do the same as they welcome Ball State into town. And Ball State will get to come in and experience Jordan-Hare. And there's going to be some new bells and whistles that we'll tell you about there in the stadium here in just a moment. But first, some good injury news for the Auburn Tigers. As Hugh Freeze reported yesterday, that safety Champ Anthony could be back pretty early on in SEC play. So he had a broken thumb that he had to go and have an operation on. But he could be back at practice in as little as 2 weeks, according to Hugh Freeze. And could have a pretty quick turnaround to where he's able to go early on in SEC play, which will be big for, the Texas A&M, the Oklahoma games, somewhere in that time frame, because those are going to be pretty pivotal in Auburn season. So good to hear that he's making a nice recovery there and expected to continue to come along pretty quickly. So some positive injury news on the other side of the state for the Auburn Tigers. Let's also hear a little bit from Hugh Freeze. This was him yesterday on the coaches teleconference, and I just thought this was a good answer from Hugh Freeze. So this is him. He was asked what the Baylor win meant to him and meant to the Auburn program, because we know just how impactful that win was last Friday.
Well, I mean, yeah, we're not naive to what the world, desires of you in these seats. I mean, all of us know that, and so it was a big game. I'm never one to make too much of one game, win or lose, but there's no question for this season that was a very big game, and career wise, I don't know where that really lands, but was certainly a big victory to get our season started.
So that's the Auburn head coach talking about how big of a win that Baylor one was. Not sure where it ranks in his career. He's had some big ones in SEC play that I know a lot of people will remember. But certainly the biggest win, I would say, of his Auburn tenure and the most important win. So now it's just about where you go from here as they will take on Ball State. But how about some stadium enhancements, Damien? You tell me how excited you will be for these. All right, when you go and you watch Auburn at some point this season down on the Plains, how excited are you for these 5 new enhancements that are going to be coming to Jordan-Hare Stadium for the 2025 college football season? So if you're going down this Saturday, these are some things that you can expect to see. All right, first off, you've got, obviously, the big old video board they've got in the south end zone. Well, now you're going to have the north end zone video board. It's going to be fully functional, and it's essentially just going to operate like the south end zone video board. It's just a little bit smaller. But so you're going to have more coverage there, so it'll be a little bit easier depending on where you're sitting in the stadium to have all that information readily available to you. So that's certainly good. Another benefit of that extra video board is more pyrotechnics, right? That's what everyone wants. More fire, more fireworks, all that good stuff. So now they'll be able to do a little more, jazz it up with both end zones.
Okay.
Having both of the video boards. So people like that stuff, right?
Let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, but game is at what? No, it's at 6:45.
It's at 6:30 tomorrow.
Okay,
yeah. It's a little bit later.
Yeah, I was gonna say. The sun's still up.
Which takes us to the next item, which I'm sure a lot of people will be excited about, and that is the new lighting and laser system inside of the stadium.
Let's go.
So this will be, I guess, maybe some on-field projection type things, as well as, of course, just the fun little light shows that have become so popular around college football. I know some high school stadiums do them as well. Heck, I do Mountain Brook volleyball. They do a light show now before their volleyball games. So that's just the thing now, right? People love the light shows. And so they're going to have a new lighting and laser system there at Jordan-Hare this upcoming season. Also, if you're watching the game and trying to keep up with the action on the video boards there in the stadium, they're now going to have the technology to put the first down marker on there like you're watching on television.
What?
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
So I don't know how that's way above my head. I don't know how that all works, technologically, but that's pretty cool. That's a a very good quality of life update if you are if you're an Auburn fan or somebody that's going to find themselves in Jordan-Hare this year. And then finally, for any of you Auburn VIP program members, they're also going to increase some of their offerings, such as offering stadium tours and more meet and greet opportunities with players pregame. So
Okay.
there's some.
There we go.
Yeah, so there you go. So those are some things you can look forward to if you're an Auburn fan or you plan on, you're a college football fan and you plan on visiting Jordan-Hare at some point this season. Those are some enhancements that you have to look forward to. So.
And they also added their national championships to Jordan-Hare, didn't they?
That's right. They
Yeah,
did.
so
They added the
absolutely.
SEC and the national championships.
Psh, come on.
They those have been up for a while now. So
Yeah. So, yeah, let's go.
a lot to look forward to against Ball State this weekend.
Absolutely.
Um,
Jordan-Hare's going to be rocking.
Yeah,
I feel bad for Ball State, man. You should have. If they played this game on a Tuesday, I'd feel a little bit different. But welcome to the SEC. Should be fun.
yes.
I'm expecting a lot of points from Auburn.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Some people like Jamie texting in. Auburn's copying Alabama. It's what it's like, a bunch of jealous blanks with the light show thing.
I got you. Doing all that cussing at 6:27 in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people maybe not so happy about that. Thank you, John Mack, for the honey boo boo gift this morning. Can't read that one. But yeah, some text coming in on the text line. Some people not happy, thinking that people are just copying it. Because you remember when Alabama did the light show and then Georgia came along and did it, and
Yeah.
oh, you're copying. It's like
It's a copycat league, y'all.
I mean, and I could be wrong. Someone correct me, and maybe I'm a bad Alabama fan because I don't know this. Was Alabama the first team to ever have a light show in a stadium? I'm going to say that no, they were not.
Couldn't tell you.
I'm going to say they were not.
Seems like something with the old Pac-12 schools probably started, like an Oregon or something, but I don't know. Maybe TCU because they got the purple. Just kind of spice it up a little bit, but who knows? Everybody's doing it now, so
I was about to
yeah,
say
you just
everyone's got to have it now.
yeah, just go along with the wave, guys. Just ride the wave.
It is what it is. So a little bit there for you to look forward to inside of Jordan-Hare Stadium this weekend or throughout the season, really. Moving into the future when you go down there to watch the Auburn Tigers. But speaking of Ball State, what are some things you need to know? What was their week one result? It certainly favors Auburn. We will put it that way. But we'll tell you a little bit what you need to know about Ball State as they head to take on Auburn here on the Plains, and a little bit about ULM. I know a lot of people familiar with their head coach, Bryant Vincent, and what he did here as a coach at UAB. A lot of people have some very fond memories about Coach Vincent. Well, how's his team looking now in year two for him there at ULM? And what does Alabama have in store for them in Tuscaloosa on Saturday? We'll dive into all that and more next on Jox. 6:34. Welcome back into Morning Jocks here on your Thursday morning. Conrad and Damian with you, talking some Alabama and Auburn, trying to turn the page a little bit, get you ready for week 2 with some, let's be honest, games that Alabama and Auburn should both win. Granted, both teams probably should have won both of their games last weekend, and that didn't happen. So we will see if that is a different result this weekend. But a lot of you, we understand, maybe not super familiar with Ball State or ULM, and we want to give you a couple pointers on what you can expect for these two matchups coming up later this weekend, as we have a great slate really for week 2. Not as good as week 1, but you've got some really good games around the SEC, and we'll tell you about those as well here coming up in just a moment. But quickly, the big news, if you missed it, if you're just now joining us, Alabama on the injury front. Jeremiah Beeman, defensive lineman, expected to miss the rest of the season after getting hurt in practice yesterday. So now Alabama down Beeman and Tim Keenan. And Beeman was actually their replacement for Tim Keenan, so they're now down to third string depth there at the front of the defensive line for the Crimson Tide. So certainly not good news there in Tuscaloosa. But let's talk about Alabama for a second and their game coming up against Louisiana Monroe. So I mentioned Bryant Vincent last segment. He is the head coach there. Going into year 2, went 5-7 last season and started off really, really strong, but hit some bumps in the road along the way last year. But the good news for ULM is they did start off this year 1-0. So they beat St. Francis 29-0 last week to start off their 2025 campaign. But ULM, they are 1-3 all time against the University of Alabama. We all remember the one. It was 2007, the first year of Nick Saban's tenure. And it was a massive upset. A lot of people were not happy with Nick Saban at that point in time, and the rest is really history from that point on. But Alabama a victor the other 3 times that these teams have matched up. The most recent one was 2022. Alabama won that matchup 63-7. And if you just like looking back at history to make decisions for the future, in the 3 wins that Alabama has over Louisiana Monroe, their average margin of victory is 41.
Okay.
I believe the spread is 36.5 for Saturday.
Do with that information as you please.
Some people like the backstory. I was just throwing that out there for you. But a little bit more about ULM this season. So I mentioned they beat St. Francis last week 29-0 to start off the 2025 season. ULM had 311 rushing yards last week on 43 carries. So that's over 7 yards an attempt.
What did Alabama struggle with?
Yeah,
Saturday?
so I thought that would be something that maybe would be worth knowing if you are an Alabama fan preparing yourself for this matchup. And the good news is you don't have a quarterback quite like Tommy Castellanos, but their quarterback does have some wiggle to him. So Aiden Armenta, that is the quarterback there for Louisiana Monroe. He ran for 39 yards and a touchdown last week on 5 carries against St. Francis. So again, only 5 carries, but I mean, you're averaging 8 yards a clip there, and you scored a touchdown. So certainly a part of his game that he can utilize. It seems like maybe you want to make him throw the football, though, a little bit. He went 12 of 23 passing for 95 yards, a touchdown, and a pick last week against St. Francis. So maybe try to lock down that run game and force him to send it to the air a little bit more. But you also have on the ground running back Braylon McReynolds. He had 113 yards on 11 carries, and he also had a receiving touchdown last weekend against St. Francis. So those are a couple of the big threats that Alabama's going to need to worry about. But yeah, the big one there, I think, for a lot of people is you are now facing a team, and I know it's St. Francis, it's different than Alabama, but ran for over 300 yards and 7 yards an attempt last week. That's honestly could be a good thing for Alabama to have that come into Tuscaloosa and have an opportunity to go up against a very solid run game and try to right some of the wrongs from last week.
Yep, and that's the thing about Brian Vincent, too. We know what his rushing attack was here when he was at UAB. Like, it was ground and pound. Like guys like Skull, and, I mean, they made a killing in the run game here at UAB, just very physical approach to it. And I think this is a good test for Alabama to show that, hey, last week was last week. Tommy Castellanos sitting on the other side. But it's still going to be Brian Vincent's game to establish the run and set up a lot of things and play action and stuff. So I think for Alabama, Read your keys, do what you need to do, and handle your business.
Couldn't have said it any better myself.
Also, notable alumni from Louisiana Monroe.
Who you got?
Faith Hill's husband,
Yeah?
Tim McGraw.
Really?
Yeah, Louisiana Monroe.
I did not know that. Okay.
And Tim Brando.
And
Hey,
looky there.
go Warhawks.
The more you know. Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, but we have a text coming in on the text line. It says Louisiana Monroe, they have some men playing football. They're not coming up here to lay down to the mighty script A. Scoreboard doesn't determine how good a team is doing. Yes, you want to win, but we need to see more effort and crisper execution from Alabama, and the score will take care of itself. Yeah, I mean, Louisiana Monroe, they're not a bad football program. That's somebody that they can come up here and make a little bit of noise if Alabama isn't on their A game. So it's be interesting to see what the takeaways are on Saturday. I'll just put it that way. So that's what you have to look forward to a little bit with ULM, as they're going to take on Alabama on Saturday at 6:45. You'll be able to watch that on the SEC network. And how about the Auburn Tigers, though? They're taking on a Ball State team. That game's going to be at 6:30. You'll be able to hear that here on the Jox family of networks. But Auburn going up against Ball State. This will be the fourth time the two teams have met. Auburn 3-0 all-time against Ball State. The last time these teams met was in 2009.
Chris Todd.
Chris Todd threw for 287 and 5 tutties.
Let's go.
Not a bad day there, as Auburn won 54-30 back in 2009. Obviously, Damian has some good memories of that game. And the good news, again, if you're an Auburn fan, not that you were probably super worried about this game anyways, they lost 31-0 to Purdue. And if you remember, I know it's a different year, and I know Barry Odom's there now. Purdue was maybe the worst Power 4 team last year. They were certainly in the bottom 3 in terms of worst Power 4 programs last season, and they just put a whooping on Ball State last week, 31-0. So that certainly helps. They do have a quarterback that likes to run it, though. You've got Kyle Kelly. He carried it 22 times last week for 63 yards, so that's not a great average, but he does like to tote that thing. And then he threw 10 of 16 for 87 passing yards last week. So that's a little bit of what you have to look for there. And the good news is, if you wanted to see what some of these wide receivers could do for Auburn, because I think, obviously you're happy with how the run game looked last week, but maybe selfishly you're like, I want to see the wide receivers. Let's see this passing game light it up a little bit. Ball State gave up 340 passing yards last week. So that's potentially a good opportunity there for Jackson Arnold and company to get in there, throw that thing around a little bit. And who knows, maybe you'll even get a Deuce Knight appearance later in the game, depending on how it goes for Auburn, because I know a lot of Auburn fans would be very excited for that, and reasonably so. So that's a little bit of what you can expect from Ball State, as they will take on Auburn in week 1.
And also notable alumni from Ball State, David Letterman.
I did not know that either. Okay, that's...
Yeah. And Brady Hoke. Former Michigan,
yeah.
San Diego State. Not as well known as David Letterman, but
I think David Letterman would be on the front of the alumni magazine in that scenario.
And to a plot twist, Jason Whitlock. Again, I was just passing the information along.
You see that video he put out the other day?
Yes.
I couldn't believe that was real. I was like, this has to be a Photoshop.
No, it is. It is.
Very real. Very real.
But is he wrong?
Yes.
Yes. I just want to know your opinion, brother.
My opinion is yes.
Also, it's disrespectful, but
yeah,
it was entertaining.
It was something. Yeah, I mean, it was bold. I will put it like that. It was certainly bold. So that's a quick preview of week 2 for both Alabama and Auburn, as they're going to get underway. Both of them kicking off. Auburn at 6:30, Alabama 6:45 coming your way on Saturday. But the NFL season does kick off tonight, so we do have to give you our Super Bowl picks. So who do Damian and I see playing in the big game coming up in February? We'll give you our picks. Some of you have sent yours in as well, so we'll get to those on the courtesy GMC text line 205-834-9450 as we roll along with our Super Bowl predictions next on Jox. Thursday edition of Morning Jocks. Conrad and Damian here with you. Appreciate you making us a part of your morning each and every day right here on Jocks. McElroy and Kubelik in the morning coming your way in a matter of moments, as they will be with you from 7 to 10. Then three-man front with you from 10 to 2. Of course, Paul Feinbaum after that from 2 to 6 as we get you ready for week 2 of the college football season. But with it being week 2 of college football, that also means it is week 1 of the NFL. So the NFL going to get underway tonight, as you will have the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Dallas Cowboys there in Philly. 7:20 kickoff there on NBC tonight, as we will officially get underway with the 2025 season, which means we have to make Super Bowl predictions, because that's what everyone's doing today and yesterday, is making their Super Bowl picks before we've seen anything on the field. So what could possibly go wrong? So I'll give you my picks. Damian will give you his. I know some of you have texted in yours as well. And I'll be honest, this one's tough. I've gone back and forth on this one. And the reality is I should probably pick the Chiefs to be in the Super Bowl, but I'm not going to do that this year. And I'm probably going to come back to regret it, just like the rest of us are that don't pick the Chiefs to make it back to the Super Bowl. But I'm not going to – I don't have the Chiefs or the Eagles back in the Super Bowl this year. I'm going to go, and I really hope that I don't regret this, I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens to defeat the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl in February. I'm going to buy into the hype after the Micah Parsons trade. We've already seen Jordan Love have big performances in the postseason up to this point. Can the receiving core stay healthy? That's a big question for the Packers. But bringing in Matthew Golden, they are doing all the things they wouldn't do when Aaron Rodgers was there, Damian. They took a receiver in the first round. They traded for a top 3 defender in the entire league. They've got a bright young quarterback. I really like the Green Bay Packers. I wanted to pick the Lions. I need to see him without Ben Johnson running the show first on offense, because I think they're still going to be really good, but are they going to be as good? I don't know. So I'm going to go Ravens over Packers. I think Lamar Jackson finally gets it done. Somebody gets past the Chiefs, and I think it's going to be the Ravens.
We're pretty close.
Okay.
We're pretty close.
Okay.
I also have the Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
I have them defeating the Tennessee Titans in the AFC Championship game. I just think the rookie Cam Ward is just a little too much early on.
Yeah.
I just think that's a tall task, and we're just 1 year away. But I have them actually falling to the Detroit Lions.
There we go.
And to your point about Green Bay, I feel the exact same way about Detroit, because Aiden Hutchinson is returning from injury, who can have a similar, if not the same, impact as Michael Parsons does on the defensive side. And I have faith in the offensive side of the ball. Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Jameson Williams, Monroe St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Penei Sewell on the offensive line. This offensive side of the ball for Detroit is absolutely stacked. And Jared Goff, he's been there. Yeah, he lost to arguably one of the greatest defensive minds to ever grace the football field in Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. But I think that Detroit has proven themselves as, hey, they're not the Detroit of old. Like, this is a team that is, it's pretty much Super Bowl or bust now. Like, I've never seen a swing in the pendulum of, oh, this is a dog crap franchise to now our expectations are set on the Super Bowl and no middle ground. It wasn't like let's kind of be pretty good. It's we're pretty damn good. And I think that this is the year that Detroit puts it all together after the past 2 seasons coming up a little bit short. And I do think I agree with you. It's kind of hard not to go with the Chiefs on the AFC side, but I think that Lamar Jackson and, again, Derrick Henry being in the backfield makes a lot easier on his plate to go out there and make plays. So I have the Baltimore Ravens and the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl, but I have Detroit taking it home.
I like it. So Damian has the Lions over the Ravens. I have the Ravens over the Packers. And some of you sending in your picks on the text line. So John Mack chimes in. He says, you guys are so predictable. It makes me laugh every time.
I didn't pick the Titans in the Super Bowl.
Before that, he said, please pick the Ravens, which I'll give you this, John Mack. Great foresight on your part to be able to guess that. I don't know what we've ever said that would make you predict that we would pick the Ravens. Or I would pick the Ravens to win the Super Bowl and Damian would pick them to lose to the Lions in there. But, I mean, if you can just read minds, then kudos to you. That was pretty impressive. Gavin chimes in. He says, tighten up, Damian.
Tighten up.
This text says Baltimore versus Washington. That's their Super Bowl prediction. Okay, that'd be something. Lewis chimes in, says go Pack go.
Okay. A lot of Packers love, man.
Josh chimes in, says, did you guys see the Red Zone channel is no longer going to be commercial free? Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that is the case there. As we roll along here on the courtesy GMC text line this morning. Some of you chiming in on some other. Let's see. CJ says everyone picks the Ravens because they all like the overrated Lamar Jackson. Look, and now if you want to say he's overrated, and I understand that because he hasn't done a whole lot in the playoffs, totally understand that, valid criticism. But if you don't also acknowledge that he's one of like the 4 best quarterbacks in the NFL, I don't know what we're doing.
Right. Well, that means Josh Allen has to be 2,000 times overrated.
Well, and that's my argument. Is people like to make the same arguments for Lamar Jackson that they'll make excuses for Josh Allen. And I'm like, if we're doing anything, like, okay, then Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts are like the only guys we should be talking about.
That's it.
And Matthew Stafford, of course.
Oh, God. And I mean, Joe Burrow's the only one to do it in the playoffs, so and he can barely get the Bengals there. At Buffalo, it's literally you can't stop the Chiefs. Everybody else finds a way to do it at least one time. They haven't done it. But that's why I don't understand that. Like, I do not understand how you can watch Lamar Jackson and sit there and say, like, if Patrick Mahomes doesn't exist, he has the argument. And even with Patrick Mahomes existing, he still has an argument of being the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
I was about to say, I don't think people would, like, some people would want to hear this, but I mean, if Lamar Jackson retired today, he's in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry. He is.
With ease.
He's an incredible quarterback, but does need to prove something in the playoffs. I'll absolutely give you that. Chris says, why is everyone overlooking the Eagles? That's just not fun to pick them again. But I mean, I'm sure they're going to be great, but just not fun to do that. Personally, someone says, call me crazy, but everyone needs to stop sleeping on the Falcons. Let's go Michael Penix.
Oh, boy.
That'll be.
If he can find a way to get Kyle Pitts the ball, I took a chance. I got him late. I got him extremely late, but I have Kyle Pitts on my team, but also have Evan Ingram starting. But,
there you go.
You know, just in case.
How about this Green Bay Bruiser text in? Brett Favre won the Super Bowl at 27. Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl at 27. Jordan Love is about to turn 27.
Let's go. I'm here for it. I'd like to see it.
Love the confidence. Christian says Packers over Bills. Man, a lot of love for the Packers. I did not think that would be the case necessarily. This one says Bengals 24-18. Oh, Bengals versus Lions. Bengals will win 24-18. All right, Bennett, we appreciate that. Thanks for all the interaction. We're back tomorrow at 6. McElroy and Kublik in the morning. They're next.